With Bitcoin pulling back the way that it has done most recently, it has left a lot of people speculating as to whether or not we're going to be getting an alt season. Let's roll that intro and get right down into it. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another walk and talk, and it's practically tropical here at -1, so the temperature's risen up a little bit, -1 degrees Celsius, a little cold, but what I will do is I will try and keep this video on point, give you all the information that I think is really important, and try not to ramble on terribly too much. So let's talk about it, right? Alt season, crypto alt seasons, these are quite an interesting topic, right? And lots of speculation right now as to whether or not we're going to see crypto alt season in 2024 before we actually start to see Bitcoin kind of recover in any way. And there's actually a lot of science behind this, a lot of logic that sits behind the understanding of an altcoin season. So let's go into a little bit of detail on this in this video so we can kind of talk about this as to whether or not it has a high probability or a low probability, okay? So what generally happens is money comes flowing into Bitcoin in bullish markets, right? And when Bitcoin reaches a certain point and it kind of has a blow off top kind of scenario, or a big sell the news event such as Bitcoin ETFs or Coinbase IPOs, ETF futures or CMEs or whatever it may be, right? There's usually a sell-off event of some kind, and what you tend to find is that the money that's in Bitcoin rolls out of Bitcoin and it rolls into altcoins, right? It's quite straightforward. But the science behind this and the ways that you can kind of look into it and understand whether this is something that is probably going to happen or not is to take a look at a few different charts, right? So obviously we have things like Bitcoin dominance. Now, Bitcoin dominance is a really important thing to look at. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people look at it and they misunderstand what it's showing you, and they kind of look at the historical movements of the dominance chart and they try to say, it's going to repeat itself. Now, they're not wrong, but they're also not right with how they kind of analyze the chart. In terms of them not being wrong, when you kind of expect history to repeat itself from a dominance point of view, yeah, you can see that. Okay, and the reason for this is that dominance is about the percentage of the market share that Bitcoin has. And so when we see Bitcoin dominance, specifically in the early stages of the cryptocurrency industry, Bitcoin was a huge proponent of it. It was significantly higher, or the dominance was significantly higher than it has been in the recent years. And this is because it was easier for Bitcoin to have a larger share of the overall market. So 60 to 70% Bitcoin dominance on the entire industry was something that was quite obvious. It was something that is easy to explain and easy to understand. Nowadays, though, we struggle to see Bitcoin really maintain above the 50% areas, and we don't really very often see it above the 60% area. Okay, and obviously Bitcoin dominance is driven from market cap. Okay, now we've spoken many times already about market cap as well. Market cap is a theoretical number. Okay, it kind of tries to give you the idea of value without actually giving you any value. It's quite an interesting one, right? So market cap in itself is basically your circulating supply multiplied by price, okay, which means that the market cap is dictated by the circulating supply and of course the price action of an asset. So when we see Bitcoin's market cap at $1 trillion, for example, it's quite easy to kind of do the math to take that market cap, divide it by the total circulating supply of Bitcoin, and hey presto, you've got yourself the price. Now, what the market cap does is gives you an idea of value, but it doesn't show you actually value, because price in itself doesn't show you value. Price is just a result of supply-demand imbalances, right? And so the science behind all of these things I'm talking about, and kind of rolling all the way back into the alt season, is to understand that Bitcoin dominance is driven from market cap, i.e. the total amount of market cap in all of crypto, or at least depending on where you get your data from, all of crypto. Got to bear in mind that there isn't a single source of Bitcoin dominance that is 100% accurate, because it cannot capture necessarily all of the cryptocurrencies. So depending on where you go, you get different numbers, but kind of scrap that for a moment. Ultimately, market cap is your main proponent to dominance, and dominance is just showing you at a market cap level where the money sits, and does it sit with Bitcoin or does it sit with the altcoins? So knowing that supply demand is ultimately what controls market cap, supply and demand controls price, and price controls market cap. Market cap being used in Bitcoin dominance is, sometimes you're going to have to take it with a little bit of grain of salt. Ultimately, it can be a great indicator of things to come. But at the same time, you need to understand that the main things that are going to affect Bitcoin dominance, they're going to affect market cap, and are going to affect price, is the supply and the demand. Nothing else really matters to any of these things other than whether or not you have a surplus supply or an increase or decrease in demand, right? So understanding supply demand is more important, but for the most part of us ascertaining whether or not we are sat in a altcoin season or on the cusp of an altcoin season, we have to understand that Bitcoin dominance has its pitfalls, but is incredibly useful for this purpose. So kind of went off on a tangent. I apologize. I just wanted to make sure I was really clear here that Bitcoin dominance is a great indicator as to whether or not an altcoin season is coming, but it doesn't give you all of the answers because of what is used to calculate such a thing. Ultimately, a lot of the tools that are most commonly used in the space have the same pitfall. They look at market cap, they look at dominance, and they don't really take a look at the underlying issues of supply demand. And so things like token unlocks are very, very important when it comes to understanding price, value, supply, demand metrics, and of course market cap. So what's going on with Bitcoin dominance, right? Get all that rant out of the way. I did say it was going to be brief today, maybe not, but Bitcoin dominance, right, has been dropping recently, and it's interesting. And so obviously with the Sell the News event with Bitcoin spot ETFs, we have seen, basically money rolling out of Bitcoin and rolling into altcoins. And we haven't really seen it really take off in a massive, massive way just yet. But I do think it will be happening, and it was just around the corner to a degree. Now, with an altcoin season, we would expect exponential growth as money decides to leave BTC rapidly. Now, I don't think we're really there yet. I don't think an alt season or an altcoin season is something that we're actually going to see, not in the true sense. We might get like a mini alt season where there's like a limited amount of growth. We see a little bit of a push to the upside, but I'm not expecting it to be like a proper altcoin season that we had seen like in 2017, for example. And the reasons and the logic for this is quite simple. There really isn't a lot of money, or a lot of money hasn't really been flowing into Bitcoin, right? We obviously have the Bitcoin spot ETFs, which I don't think many people really understood what they were, but they are essentially selling shares in the Bitcoin held by the Bitcoin spot ETFs. So the money doesn't flow into Bitcoin, right? So we haven't really had any decent inflows for BTC for quite some time, actually. I'd probably say it's close to 8 months at this point that we haven't really seen significant increases in demand. We haven't seen a lot of inflows. And so we haven't really had the opportunity to see the money flowing in so that it can flow out. We've got a lot of legacy money here, as in money that's kind of kicked around, moves around the market from time to time, but we haven't really seen any kind of fresh money coming in to the market for quite a significant period. So I think for the most part, if we are to see anything in terms of altcoin seasons, it's going to be like a little mini run, and I think this will actually happen at the same time as Bitcoin moving up to a point. Now, I'd love to be wrong. I'm heavy on altcoins, so if I am wrong, I'm very, very wealthy, right? And if I'm right on this, it's going to give a huge opportunity to just build out those positions even more so than I already have done. And so I don't really mind what the outcome is, but my expectations are that altcoins will be on a little run over the next little while here, probably the next few weeks or so, push back up. Some of them will probably hit into new 2024 highs and complete out some patterns that we're seeing in the charts. Like take Cardano, for example, I'm expecting that to push up towards 74 cent as an example, right? And Solana and a few others that might, push up quite a bit. But for the most part, I don't think it's going to constitute an altcoin season. And once it's complete, I expect kind of the entire crypto market to fall down. I reckon lots of profit is going to get taken off the table, and it's going to basically create a huge correction where I wouldn't be surprised if, you see Bitcoin pushing down to 30K and you see a good 50% off from the highs on these altcoins, right? So wherever their high ends up, I would say probably 50%, it seems like a reasonable area for altcoins to correct down from. Okay, so a 50% drop from the high on many, many altcoins, I would expect that to be pretty normal and pretty consistent with the historical price movements of what we've seen. And also it will allow us to see a little bit of dominance drop for Bitcoin, but also increase over a slight longer period of time. So as altcoins start to rally up over the next maybe month or so, few weeks and a month, I would expect Bitcoin dominance to drop. And if we take a look at things like total 3 on the charts, which is basically the total market cap of all crypto excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, then I would expect that to actually start to increase whilst Bitcoin dominance is dropping. These are the things that I think are going to be really interesting to keep an eye on over the couple of weeks into a couple of months or so as we start to see Bitcoin kind of pull back a little bit. So I think for the most part, it's an exciting time to kind of be in crypto, right? It's exciting to kind of be able to take advantage of some fantastic opportunities that are coming. Either we're already in positions and we're going to get an altcoin season, it's going to be fantastic, we're going to be wealthier, right? Or alternatively, we're going to have this huge opportunity to dollar cost average into bigger positions, with 50% off altcoins. I think there's a huge opportunity in 2024, so it's definitely not one, in my opinion, to be missed. Why don't you check this video out here where I'm discussing what is going on with the price action of Bitcoin.